All right, let's welcome in our powerhouse panel this morning. We start with former White House Director of Strategic Communications, Mercedes Schlapp, is with us. Attorney and Turning Point USA contributor and Republican strategist, Aaron Elmore, is here. Project 21 National Advisory Board member Christopher Arps is with us, and the host of Saturday Report, right here on Newsmax, a veteran and a former Navy SEAL, Carl Higbie, with us this morning as well. Panel, good to have you all on. Great to see you, Mercedes. I'd like to start with you. Joe Biden was in Baltimore yesterday trying to sell this $1.75 trillion debacle. He was out there banging his chest after pounding that $1.2 trillion bill that was bipartisan, 13 Republicans in the House and 19 Republicans in the Senate 92 days ago today passing that bill. Kamala Harris, though, she adopted an accent, a foreign accent, to talk about this spending plan. Take a listen.
With us in government, we campaign with the plan. Uppercase T, uppercase P, the plan. And then the environment is such that we're expected to defend the plan. Even when the first time we roll it out, there may be some glitches and it's time to reevaluate and then do it again.
Mercy, is this why she has a 28% approval rating? What do you make of that? Why?
She needs like everything. She needs like a communications consultant, an image consultant. She needs it all. She needs like a redo. You know, It's like when Al Gore decided to adopt like the natural color, sweater. She just needs a redo. I have to tell you, across the board, as I've talked to even some of my Democrat friends, they're very concerned not only of the performance of Kamala Harris, where she is just not stepping up to doing her job, where she is ignoring the crisis at the border, obviously sounding at times foolish, sounding at times like she doesn't understand the major policy implications, and I think poorly representing the Biden administration. And on top of that, then you have the mumbling president who doesn't take any questions, Rob. So it really is such a bad marriage, such a bad combination. And I think it's very much showing in the public eye. Yeah. And the American people, that's why you're seeing the American people, almost 20% of these voters in the survey say that Biden should resign or retire by next year.
It's unbelievable.
I mean, those are very troubling numbers.
The number's that high. Chris, Mercedes just brought up an interesting point. I was looking at this yesterday. So President Biden hasn't held a cabinet meeting, let alone a press conference. His last formal press conference, his one and only, was in March. His last cabinet meeting was 4.5 months ago. You've got to go back to July, which is just completely unorthodox.
And that's completely astonishing. I did not know that until I heard about that earlier. And, you look at Kamala Harris. She's been vice president now for 10 or 11 months. She has never had a press conference herself, even during the campaign. They're hiding her away, and that's why she has the 20% approval rating, because she just doesn't elicit a lot of confidence when you hear her talk, and that's why they're hiding her away.
Aaron, your thoughts? There's just, to me, it seems like right now, so Kamala's over in France, and there's just this massive disconnect between what the American people are dealing with on a daily basis I've got the heat on at my house. It's freezing last night. I drove in this morning to New York City. It was like 38 degrees. So the heat's on. People are dealing with that. They're going to be dealing with that for the next 4, 5, 6 months in the colder parts of the country. And then every time you gas up your car, you're dealing with this. You're trying to fill out your table for Thanksgiving dinner, and you're paying astronomical prices on things that are normally not that expensive. And yet Joe Biden still wants to spend $1.75 trillion on a bill we haven't even seen the text for yet.
There's a complete disconnect between what's going on in America and what's going on in Washington. You talk about the heat being on. In Washington, the lights are on, but no one is home. If we get rid of the president, we get Kamala. And truthfully, I think I read something really interesting about Kamala in the New York Times, is that she was a hard-on crime prosecutor. I think she's having an existential crisis about her identity. If she just maybe was herself and not trying to play this progressive role, maybe she would be a little more authentic and likable. But right now, she comes across as completely out of touch, very Marie Antoinette, let them eat cake. She says nothing substantive in any conversation, and it's absolutely terrifying. And the American people are sitting back, mouth agape, wondering what is going on in Washington. What are our leaders doing? Right. Who is really pulling the strings? This is not the reality of what I'm seeing on the ground as I live as an American.
Carl, good morning, my friend, former Navy SEAL. Thanks so much for your service, by the way, on this Veterans Day. We appreciate you making the trip as well from the cold suburbs into the city to be with us today. So one utility company out west. This is a West Coast utility company. They've already had snow in many parts of the western part of this country. They put out an email to their customers suggesting that they keep the heat a little bit lower to keep costs down. We haven't seen that literally since Jimmy Carter. So now the comparison is no longer a comparison. This is real. You've got it bookended by Jimmy Carter and Joe Biden. Here we go again.
Right. Well, you know, it's interesting too. Look, I live in Greenwich, okay? It's a pretty affluent area.
Yeah.
Normally you see kids selling firewood. That's the thing. People do that during the summer to make a couple bucks during the winter. But in Greenwich right now, you cannot get a cord of firewood because so many people are stocking up because they don't want to pay. They want to balance out the oil prices there because it is so prohibitively expensive to do this. We saw this, in California with Kamala Harris's home state, obviously, with the when they had the rolling blackouts. It's like, this is your country on Democrats. This is the reality of liberal policies. When you elect Democrats who have no idea what they're doing, their policies don't work, you get higher prices because they don't understand the dynamic of the market. And one more thing to Kamala Harris. When you're the vice president, you essentially have 3 jobs. Sit where you're told, don't die, and don't be a headline. And she can't even do that. And this is a woman who got, I don't know, she's polling at like 1% in the Democratic primary, and she's very likely, potentially, could be the president should something happen to Joe Biden. I mean,
Right. 3 years, a long time, Carl. And 28%, that's the lowest approval rating for a VP in U.S. history.
Ever.
Something happened in the world of media yesterday. Somebody who was on the track to be one of the greats. I watched him when I was younger. I always thought he was a very skilled broadcaster. It's not easy sitting at the desk. And I thought that Brian Williams did it well. But Brian Williams, he got in trouble. He got in trouble a while ago, and I think his career took a major hit. He's going to be leaving one of our competitors, NBC News. Let's look back at Brian Williams' career. Take a look.
On the ground, we learned the Chinook ahead of us was almost blown out of the sky.
2 of our 4 helicopters were hit by ground fire, including the one I was in.
No kidding.
RPG and AK-47.
The story actually started with a terrible moment a dozen years back during the invasion of Iraq, when the helicopter we were traveling in was forced down after being hit by an RPG. I made a mistake in recalling the events of 12 years ago. I want to apologize. I said I was traveling in an aircraft that was hit by RPG fire. I was instead in a following aircraft. We all landed after the ground fire incident and spent 2 harrowing nights in a sandstorm in the Iraq desert.
Carl, would you remember if your helicopter was hit?
Yeah, because my helicopter was hit, and I remember it pretty clearly. You don't forget about something like that. And as far as I'm concerned, people who embellish their military, or he wasn't even in the military, any type of inclusion to any type of combat acts or any type of conflict, I have no patience for people like that. He did it to promote his career. He didn't do it because he was paying tribute to the service members. He did it for a self-serving reason.
Right.
Get lost.
Mercedes, you're a communications specialist. Today's Veterans Day. He made this announcement a day ago. Wouldn't you wait just until next week? Because he's kicking around until December. So wouldn't you just get past the Veterans Day thing to not have that glaring comparison? Today we honor 19 million Americans that have served our country. And here's a guy that literally is most famous. I think he's the most famous liar in TV news history. He lied about the rocket thing. He lied about bodies floating by him after Hurricane Katrina down in New Orleans.
Well, first of all, happy Veterans Day to all the wonderful veterans, including you, Carl. But I got to just say, I don't think anyone cares what Brian Williams thinks or says. He's a has-been. He's someone who I think lost all of his reputation when he lied about the incident. And, you're starting to see pretty much NBC News and crumble between Brian leaving, Rachel Maddow saying that she's looking to leave as well. So quite frankly, I just don't think it's even worth even talking about Brian Williams at this point. He really did a disservice to the viewers. And unfortunately, for him, it's okay, goodbye, see you later, and we got to move on.
He will be back, though. Mark my words, 62 years old, he'll be back. I did hear that Jeff Zucker at CNN already reached out to him, by the way, which is just so typical. So we'll see him back. Brian Williams, we bid you adieu. All right, panel, we'll leave it there. We'll pick it up on the other side. Looking forward to that.